morning. Today, I'm going to show you how to take care of the basic maintenance on your tools. Fill this bucket about a quarter of the way, a third of the way, with water. White vinegar, about another third. Step 1, clean off your tools in this solution. So just duck it right on in. From here you can grab a rag. For the tougher dirt, wire brush it. Pretty clean. So with the rust that's starting to form right here, the best bet is to take sandpaper and scratch it right out. Grab your vinegar again. Back out. And that's a cleaned off tool. Take a dry rag. And you're ready to start. So on this edge here, we can see where there are nicks, cuts, imperfections in the bevel. It's really easy to sharpen back out. We're going to do that next since this is clean. So we'll grab from, get out of the way, a file kit, and let's start with this one. Yeah, that's gonna be secret. So grab this. And the trick here is to run this along the edge so that you flatten out So if we look again, those nicks and cuts that were in the edge of the blade are flattened back out. But this is a little bit dull, so we can take where you see an edge here above the fingernail. It's a bevel, and we just have to give it a little bit of that curve back because we've cut down some of it. For that, just get you guys one of these.
What is this tool?
It's gonna be about the same. This is a whetstone. It does the same thing as a file. It's just a difference in whether you have a brick with a coarser side and a finer side, just like this. But this will do the trick too, I think, for today. You're gonna follow the curve, and it doesn't take much. You just gotta and that is much sharper now. You clean up the edge. We've given this a little bit more of a bevel. It's not perfect, but it'll do the trick. If you want a smoother edge all around again, when you take back in the bevel, grab the smaller file and just run it along the curve, gently. Just as sharp, much smoother now. So these are both harvest knives. The difference between the two of these right now is that this has some nicks in it, but it still has a good edge. Still a bit off the corner here from use. But where it's starting to curve in, you have to get back out, because if you don't, it turns out like this, or it becomes close to useless. And there's all these deep gouges in it. Very little edge left on it, which means that this is at the end of its life. No good. So we'll clean this one up. There's still some rust on it, really easy to get out. Same thing again, heavy wire brush. Enough. For the deeper marks of rust, same thing. Sandpaper, and just much better. Get a little dust off. And we're ready to sharpen. So, for this, you want a nice flat surface, like a whetstone. Start with the coarsest side, so the darkest. And just, honestly, put it this way. And
It's on an angle.
you're gonna sharpen it on an angle because it has two sides of a bevel to make the blade, so it can actually hack. Whereas on the loppers, where we just put them, it's only got a bevel on one side because it cuts on an angle. So you never sharpen that side, you sharpen this side. You sharpen for the angles. So, I don't know which way to handle this, but and in circular motions where you can to start. Do the other side. It's a good noise. Okay. Good to know is that pesky corner. Again, we want to hit that really gently on the finer side so it doesn't do what this one did. We're on the finer side of the whetstone now. Smoothing out what we've ground out. So we took those initial nicks and cuts into it, and they're still there, but they're so much smaller now from where we started. The edge is back. That corner is cleaned. It's got some sharp to it. So this is as good as new. For a shovel, you do have to clean it off first. We're gonna look at this wonky edge where it's folded in. This can still be power sanded back out. We're gonna end up using this flat disc power sander. But first, let's clean this puppy off. Grab this on the ground. Away from all your wires. Just give it a roll. Grab. Since this was so dirty and a bit rusty, from where dirt was left to cake onto it, we're just gonna take the wire brush right to it. probably as good as that's gonna get. We're gonna rinse it off. Woo! Oh, that was gross. Grab your wet rag. Take some of this off. Now, the ambitious farmer will sit here all day with preferably a block of sandpaper and buff this all out. We won't, because you could also get another 5-gallon bucket, fill it with just white vinegar, and leave it to soak for about 2 hours. Take it out and dry it off, and you'll get most of the rust off. But we'll get a little bit off on the edges here. And we're gonna sharpen this puppy right now. Again, we've got that really messed up edge. But if we ignore that right now, and you look at the rest of a shovel, how a shovel cuts is it's beveled on one side so we can actually dig. So this side, you never, ever, ever sharpen. Just this. Besides there, it's got some nicks and cuts in the grooves. That's normal. We can get that right out. So step one is to take care of this. And the best we can do right now is power sand it down. So you're gonna lay it on a flat surface. Get everything out of the way for it. Hearing protection. Eye protection. Do it the other way around if you're smarter than me. And now we're gonna use this power sander. If you're worried about this moving on you, you could keep a leg onto it or have a friend back here and hold on to it for you. For a flap disc power sander, this will give you direction and control over it. All you have to do to turn it on, once it's plugged in, release the safety on that, press down, and get it down. You have to hold it down in order for it to keep rolling. So we're gonna take it to this edge. And go. So the goal is to flatten back out this edge where it's curved in as much as possible. We're trying to grind that right back down. You're not going to get the same point that another shovel would have, like the one is behind us. Also never storage tool like that, but you know. But you'll be able to give it an edge back where it was originally dull. This is really sharp right now, so I guess I'll be tapping it. And if you see sparks flying and you smell something foul, don't leave it on for more than a couple of seconds. Pull it away, inspect your work, look at what's going on, and then approach from there. So this is ground down really nicely right here, but I still have some edge here. So I'm gonna nip that back down. So, that's back down. I definitely made a mistake. We can see here where there was some heat that built up and it chunked off a little bit, but it's still gonna be perfectly usable. That happens. It's okay. There's nothing to really do about it other than let it rest on the side. You can even feel the heat difference. This is still relatively cool. This is really warm. Just give it a couple of minutes to cool off. You can check the temperature by feeling it, and then you can get to sharpening it back up. Okay, since we're still letting this one cool down from where I gave a little too much heat on the one side, I'll show you how to keep sharpening shovels, but with a different one. I've already cleaned this one, and there was no rust on it, which is good. So, this one has a pretty decent edge still on it. This actually is a really nice edge on it. There's a couple of nicks into here. They're not too bad. I wouldn't normally worry about this one. I would say you could keep letting it go, but we'll file it out. So shovels are just like loppers and hand shears, in which how it digs is on an angle, so it only has a bevel just like this on the one side. So you always sharpen the side with the bevel, which you can see, it's this. So never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, sharpen this backside. Just the front here. And for this, we're gonna grab a file. I like the flatter ones to start the best, but a nice thick one like this, when it's not rusty, will also work. We're gonna start like you always should for filing, with the toughest grit. And we'll take it in long strokes, so we keep an even curve on the surface. So now we can change to the finer side. As you'll tell, because it's a bit, it always feels smoother. And same thing, even strokes. Just trying to smooth out our new edge. if you find some trouble spots, like there's some funky curves in that new edge that we've made, that we've defined, be really careful with it, but you could take a finer file and find on one of these smaller four-sided ones the finest edge, the smoothest, which right now will be this one. And you can take single strokes of it. Not too much, because otherwise you're gonna make a weak point in here and it's not uniform. Then go back to your flat edge. If it's really bad, you can grab your whetstone, take the smoothest side, just rub it out. Go ahead and feel it. Can't feel any of the imperfections, which means it's a done deal. That's a perfectly sharpened shovel. So, at the start of or the end of a season, when you have tools with wood handles, it's a really good idea to oil down the wood. For that, just grab some lemon oil. Soak a rag in it. You don't have to clean it ahead of time because this is also a cleaning agent. All natural. And just oil it down. Let it air dry. Also at the end of season or the start of season, only once, just like the handle, it's good to prevent rust for the entirety of a season by oiling down your shovels. You can do the same thing on your loppers and on your shears and hand spades as well. You can use any old oil. Linseed oil is fine. This is motor oil. Strangely enough, motor oil works the best in my opinion. And you're just gonna grab a rag. Any old rag will do. A microfiber just happens to be here. Doesn't take much. You're just gonna buff it out. And that is gonna clean it and seal it and prevent rust, so you don't have to sand out nearly as much when you're cleaning your tools.